Hi, folks, and welcome to She's All Talk podcast live. Sorry about the delay. It's so nerve wracking when you're doing anything live. I have all my little technically things set up, and I was wondering what to do with it. And I was here making sure my face looked okay. And oh my God, it's so nerve wracking. Anyway, it's lovely to have people joining in live, and I see I have two watchers already, so that's excellent. I just basically I've nothing planned for tonight. I had loads of things planned in my head all week, and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. And now today, I'm just like, okay, I'm starting to lose my shit slightly because it's very different when me and Hazel back in the day were doing it. You know, in fairness, we had a lovely little flow of things, and then there's certain things we wanted to take out, and we could take out in the editing room. But this is very, very different. Anyway, I think this is great. I really enjoy doing this because, like I said in my little intro, I'm a chatterbox. You can never shut me up. God love people that walk by my house. Like, I live beside a field, and they're dog walkers, and I could swear half of them take the long way now at this stage because they're all gone. And I just see them sneaking past the railings down the other end. So look, this may help get the dog walkers back. That way I'm not out tormenting them. Anyway, I have a couple of things lined up for further podcasts. Like, I'd like to, like, I love watching programs where would show you like where are they now, like famous people years ago or people who had one hit wonders. I would love to do that and actually get those people on the podcast. I'm working on that. I also would like to kind of talk about topics that aren't really spoken about. Like, I had a girl the other day contact me about a random phobia, and we'll get into chatting about that now. Random phobias that she had asked me. She said, "Do you think anybody else has this? And if anybody else has this random phobia that she has, she'd like to know." So she said, "Look, I had a bit of a dilemma the other day. I was actually on my way to an appointment, and she went to this certain place in Dublin, and there was a revolving door. Now, revolving doors, that there's ones you can push and there's ones that automatically go around. Well, she cannot cope with these. They make her nervous. It's live. Make her nervous, and she just can't cope with them. So she said, ask your viewers, is there anybody else that has this? So she was on her way in, and she said to the security guy, like, no, normally there's like a random door beside it. And he said, no, it's locked, like it's staying locked. No, you have to go through. She's like, but I can't. Like, you stand there with a child, but I can't. And he obviously didn't understand why your woman will not come through this door. He probably thought she was an absolute nut job. But she says it's a real thing, like it's a real phobia, and I just can't cope with them. Now, I know I have a little girl, Jesus, lifts drive her nuts. And it drives me nuts that she won't go in them. I'd be literally tearing her in, going, you be grand, get in, get in. But she's genuinely afraid of them. So I think she's a bit claustrophobic. I don't know. But I'm sure, although she did say, the girl that got in touch, she did say, look, I am claustrophobic, but this seems to be because it's electric, I'm not in control of it. And so I said, look, I'll mention it. Absolutely. Like, these things you have to kind of see, is there anybody? That's why them groups are great as well. You throw something out and people always throw stuff back at you. But this is a group now. This is your new group. So I want to talk about a lot of things like growing up in Dublin. What does growing up in Dublin mean to you? And when I ask growing up in Dublin, it means like, what certain things do you remember that will associate you with Dublin? To me, it's the smell. And it was always a smell like, you're nearly hitting town when you go as far as kind of Inchicore on your way in. You can smell Guinness's hops. That's one thing, that it's a smell that will only ever associate Dublin to me. And of course, like Moore Street, and not even the ladies, when you go down to Moore Street, like, I mean, it's a different world, but the ladies and the smell of fruit and even the smell of fish, like, and I hate fish, but it's still that Dublin city thing, going into the Ilac Centre, as we used to call it, the Lilac. Little things like that, remind me of Dublin. And that's what I love to hear from people. Give me all of your Dublin. What reminds you of Dublin? Certain parts you grew up in Dublin. Like I grew up in Ballyfermot, and there's so many things that remind me of Ballyfermot as well. So I'm sure everybody has that same thing, you know, of where you grew up. Another couple of things, like I said, music. I absolutely love music, and I'm one of these people where, like, you know, sometimes you can tell almost what year people were born in by their music, or what kind of decade they were born in by their music and what music they like. Well, with me, it was like I was born in the 80s, but I absolutely love 70s music. I love all the Motown, all that, like, you know, kind of, I can't remember the name of it, but there was a name on it. But that's the type of stuff I absolutely love. You know, what I do sometimes when you're out and you ask for a certain song like Tavares or something, they'll be like, "How old are you? Like, you were born in the 70s. You weren't actually out dancing. You'd have to be born in the 60s to be out dancing in the 70s." But I absolutely love all that music. That is my favourite. I also remember back in the day when I started going out to nightclubs, I suppose, with my friends. And we used to go into all the Dublin clubs like years ago. When obviously I was born in 84, so I used to go out in the noughties. And we'd go into the Dublin clubs in town, and we'd literally have €20 in our pocket. And that would have to get us in the door. It'd have to get our coat into the cloakroom. It would have to get you a few smokes, of course. It'd have to get you a few pints, a kebab, and a taxi home. £20. It wasn't euros now, it was pounds. And in fairness, we actually did. Like, we actually did. Now, of course, you get a few people to buy you a drink or what have you, and maybe, like, you know, you kind of maybe hang your bag on your handbag, or your coat on your handbag when you're dancing, and maybe bum a few smokes or whatever. But literally, that was your whole night equipped on €20. Now, I remember years ago, my mom would say, going back in the day, like, they never drank in nightclubs because they couldn't afford to. You'd probably, you know, be able to pay yourself in, or, you know, walk home. But kind of, you know, when we were like, Jesus, we'd get the bus in. And I remember me and my mate, we'd literally, and it was back in the day when we had MSN Messenger, and we go on to MSN Messenger. And this is around like probably 2004 or 5. And we go on to MSN Messenger, and we're like, right, we're going out. And my mate would say, well, I have €18. And I'd say, well, I have probably €14. Let's put it together. Hop on the bus into town with our like 2 bottles of Wicked, and go into the nightclub and fall home at 3 in the morning, like, and get a lift home. Oh, like, it was so dangerous. God forbid if any of my kids were to do that, I bloody kill them. Like, seriously, it was a different time completely. Now, like, I'm only 37, you know, it wasn't that long ago, but even when you think about it now, it definitely has changed so much. So it's not something I'd be wanting my kids to be doing, let me tell you. So yeah, like, I you know, there's so many things, like when I was even speaking the other day about mobile phones. And the rule in our house with our kids is like strictly no mobile phones until you make your confirmation, and you buy your phone basically. And like, it's weird because my kids are like, oh my God, I'm going to be, what, like, nearly, my eldest fella now is making his confirmation, so he'll be 13. It's like, I'm going to be 13 and all my friends already have a phone before me. And we were like, no, we stood firm, and we're like, no, you buy your first mobile when you make your confirmation or whatever. You have your own money, and then, you know, you a year later you move out and get married. You know, off you go. But that's been the rule in our house, and thank God we stuck to it with the first fella so far. But I even remember back in the day when I got my first phone, and I remember it being a Motorola. And do you remember the Motorola's? They came in like a bubble in a box. And I remember my dad, God rest him, he gave me £100. And for some reason, I think I was the only child that probably was the only one asking for a phone at that time. But something I wanted, like, I can't remember what age I was, probably about 14, 15 or whatever. And I remember asking for this mobile phone, and him giving me £100, and I got the bus into town. into, I think it was Ready to Go on O'Connell Street. And I remember going in with this 100 quid. And I was probably the only kid that ever went to the shop. I goes, oh, they were only after lunch. And I remember handing the chap, I want the new Motorola, the Ready to Go phone. And I swear to God, I thought I was the best thing in the whole estate that was after getting a phone. And do you remember it used to come with, it was the 088 Ready to Go, it used to come with stickers, long stickers. And you go around putting your mobile phone number on and sticking it on poles, hoping that somebody would actually ring you. So that's what I did. I literally stuck stickers everywhere. I stuck them on people's school bags and on the books and everything, and nobody rang me. I don't think I got probably about $5 credit or whatever. And it was so bloody big. Like when you think of mobile phones, they got smaller and smaller, and then they got bigger and bigger. But yeah, nobody rang me. I think the only person that would have ever rang me was my mom or something. But I never forget it. And then phones have changed so much over the years. You know, you'd be getting you get phones with cameras on them, and oh my God, like things have changed so much. But I remember, I do remember getting a little Ericsson. Do you remember the little flip down Ericssons? And you could put your own ringtone on them. Oh my God, you thought you were deadly. They're the type of things that our kids nowadays will never ever understand, the excitement of having a phone, or even somebody texting you and your phone going buzzing in your pocket and taking it out, pulling up the area and thinking you're bleeding deadly. They're the type of things that our kids nowadays will not even understand. Same when it comes to the likes of, like, we had a couple of channels. Like, I mean, we didn't only have 3 years ago because, you know, it was the 90s. We didn't have all the Netflix and all the Disney Plus, and everything now is like so on demand for them. You know, you don't even have to skip through an ad now, or to sit through an ad nowadays. Like everything is, if you see them, skip ad, or even on YouTube. You know, we used to have to sit for hours through a bleeding ad, through a break. You know, and like it was no even fast forwarding or anything. And even when my kids we're watching something on normal TV, they're like, fast forward the ads or skip the ads. I'm like, no, can't do that. It's normal telly. Like, they have so much, and they're so bloody privileged, and yet they still moan. But I'm sure we used to still moan years ago when we were growing up. It's mad. And I suppose being a parent as well, God, when I think of half of the stuff that I used to do growing up to my poor mom and dad, like, you think as a parent, you go, Jesus Christ, if one of my kids were to do that to me, you'd bleeding kill them. Like, you'd absolutely kill them. We were thrown out in the morning time to play. During the summer now, summer months were very different to the winter months, like, but we're thrown out in the morning time to play. And we'd come in for our lunch, we'd come in for maybe a slice of bread. And then we didn't come in until it was night time. Now, for example, in my house this week, right, last week, none of the kids obviously were able to go to school because we had COVID again in the house. I have literally spent every single day back and forth to Aldi and Dunnes buying food. And it's just literally in between meals. Like, we got a couple of square meals a day. We were thrown out, and that was it. These guys are coming in every 2 minutes. They're coming in looking for stuff in the press, ice creams. Now, this is all my fault. Jesus, like, my partner would say to me, get them bleeding out and tell them they're not getting that. Literally anything to just, okay, leave me alone while I'm doing my OCD cleaning, literally going around in circles cleaning up after the kids. They constantly looking for snacks all the time. And I swear to God, we never got that. Like, we never got half of the stuff that the kids got nowadays. Oh my God. Like, we used to get, my mother, and it was a treat for us on a Saturday night, we used to get a couple of lemonade and a couple of party ring biscuits. And we used to sit down in front of the telly and watch Blind Date. That was our Saturday night growing up. And nowadays it's like, my kids are up in their room, they're all up on their devices. You know, they're watching YouTube, they're Netflix, they're playing games. They're asking me for, like, they have this game called Toca World, and like asking me for money to buy a mansion and buy 2 lampshades in it, and all. It's like 80 cents. I'm the bigger gobshite that's giving them my card details. So yeah, look, buy that. Just leave me alone. Just please leave me alone. My God. Oh God. But like, I don't know. I don't know. It's hard, and it's been particularly hard the last 3 years. Like, you have to give ourselves a pat on the back for getting through these last 3 years, because my God, like, when I heard the other day on the news that the masks were going to come off, I was like, oh my God, I never ever thought I'd see the day where we be saying, right, we don't have to wear masks anymore. Now, I'm not an anti-masker at all. I hated the feckin' masks. The mask drove me nuts, especially when you're flustered with loads of kids and you have a bleeding coming up around your face and you've loads of bags or whatever. They were absolutely horrible. But yeah, we did it and we knew we had to do it. But Jesus Christ, and especially the poor kids in schools as well, having to wear them. And, I don't know about, I'm sure the secondary schools are going to have them taken off, but none of mine are in secondary yet. And I remember the day we had to send them into school wearing the masks, and there was murder. There was murder not over wearing the mask. That's my mask. No, that's your mask. That's my mask. I need 2 masks. Cost me a bleeding fortune. I spent more money buying masks in the last couple of weeks than I did food, because masks aren't cheap. Anyway, they're gone. Next week, Monday week, thanks be to God. Now, of course, I did enjoy wearing the mask for a certain amount of time, because, you're going into crowded places. Let's face it, people are smelly. Like, there are smelly people out there, and sometimes you'd walk by somebody and you'd see them and you go, they don't look the cleanest. When you walk by them and you kind of go like that. I know I'm not the only one who does that. So if there's any out there looking at me going, oh God, you all do it, right? But there are smellies out there that you go, and it's grand with the masks, and especially on the likes of public transport. Oh my God, I think only smelly people take the bus. There has to be. Jesus Christ, I haven't taken the bus in a while. And these aren't old people. Like, there are a lot of young people that don't know what deodorant is. I will, if I have to use public transport, I will be wearing the mask, regardless. Yeah. Anyway, so I did say I was going to bring you some newsy stuff, because I just went on a bit of a rant, a little bit of a nervous rant there for a couple of minutes. You're probably all going, oh God, I'm turn on Netflix now. She's fucking boring me. But yeah, so I did say we're going to kind of run down the news, because I absolutely love the news. So kind of, it has been kind of a snow. There's been snow. It's been a bit of a slow news week. The main kind of thing was the storm all week, and we're all bleeding, battening down the hatches. And I went out and I brought loads of bread and milk and everything, thinking this storm was going to come. And the kids were like, oh my God, let's get the torches out and candles. And it didn't happen. I know it was bad in certain parts of the country, but I think we all panic in Dublin slightly. We're panickers. The Dubs are panickers, in fairness. Especially around the time of, remember the Beast from the East and the bread? We are panickers. But yeah, the storm. The storm was a bit of a letdown, in fairness. I love a good weather event. Really good weather event that obviously, it's not life-threatening, but sorry, just need a drink. But I like a good something to look at. Them winds were strong though, in fairness. I get freaked out. We have a big tree in front of our house, and not nice when it's windy. So news. What's the story with Russia? Oh my God. Are they going to invade? Are all the Americans going to join in? Are the Brits going to join in? Do they have to send me over there to sort them out? I don't know, but not looking good. Not looking good. Nothing really happening in Ireland that we can tear strips off at the moment, because the government seem to be kind of giving back a little bit to us poor old gobshites here in Ireland. Still a disaster as always. But yeah, a little bit of a slow news week. Really struggling with these braces. Really struggling. If anybody has braces, braces are a thing now. Definitely weren't a thing for me. I am a thumb sucker. And I've sucked my thumb since the day my uncle Tommy put mustard on my suitor. I was probably about 12. But the thumb had gone in, and I used to even drive my car sucking my thumb. I know. I should have been arrested for not having two hands on the wheel. But yeah, so anyway, I got the braces in, and very, very hard to speak with them, and do a lot of spitting as well. So maybe it's a good thing that I keep the mask on as well. And my speech is a bit lispy. So, but no, they're doing the trick. They are doing the trick, but they're very, very, very hard and very, very sore. So if you think about getting braces, don't just stay. Just stay the way you are. Don't get them. Not good. Unless you're a kid and you need them. But just don't get to your 30s and go, I think I'll get braces. I think I'll do something for me. Like I said to myself, right, that's it. Something for me. It's me time now. I'm going to fix something that I always hated. That's my teeth. And I'm going to get braces. But a little bit sorry. But then again, I won't be when they're taken off. Right, I'm on another rant again. What does everybody like to watch? What does everybody like to listen to? I want some people from the older generation to come on and give me some back in the day stories. Somebody contacted me earlier, and she said she has a lovely neighbor, and I love good owl stories, from the older generation. They have the best stories to tell. So if you have a ma or a da or an auntie or an uncle or a granddad or a granny that would like to come on and tell us a few stories about years ago, more than welcome. Absolutely love it. I think it's amazing. Stories about anything, I suppose. Family stories, funny stories. Any story is better than listening to me go off on another one again. Just looking for content, I suppose. I want to get guests on. I would love to have guests on, to basically just to stop me from talking all the time. It's very, very, very hard doing a YouTube podcast, believe it or not, because you need lots of fillers. And if you don't have guests on, like for example, I'm using this streaming platform, and a friend of mine kind of set up all my logo and everything to have up on the screen in front of me, that I actually forgot to put up. But it's very hard managing all this on your own and trying to stay cool at the same time, trying to look good at the same time. It's not an easy one. There's my logo. I forgot to put it on earlier. Also, you have certain things that you're able to say on your on the banner underneath that I forgot to put on because I was so nervous. So nervous. I don't know how anybody works on TV and has to read off a teleprompter. I'm probably better at just going, but imagine trying to read off something. Now, that's not to say if RT came forward with a contract for me, which I know is coming down along the line, I wouldn't refuse it, of course. But no, it's intense. It's intense, and yeah, I mean, so there's a couple of little things like an overlay here that I put up that I'm after getting rid of. I'm back. Sorry, I'm back. Am I back? No. You've lost me now for a few minutes. Certain different things like this, that's why you need your own producer, or you need to be very, very fast and professional at when you're doing stuff like this, because otherwise it's not going to go too well, as you can see. So I've kind of lost myself. But if you have any stories that you'd like to contact, and of course, like I said, I would like to address I'd like to address other issues as well, not just all funny, laughy, ha-ha stuff. There's an awful lot of topics that I would like to chat about as well. That I chat to people randomly about, like, obviously I'm not going to go down the state of the nation route, because I leave that to somebody else. But stuff in everyday life that I find difficult, as not only as a parent, but as a person as well. I find a lot of people that know me would know me from I campaign and stuff, and do some campaigning for children's rights, and it's mainly got to do with our health system in this country, and it's let an awful lot of people down. Our country's been let down an awful lot from. I've only really experienced from children's health. I've experienced that side of things, and let's face it, it's not nice. It really, really isn't nice. But I know an awful lot of people who have experience from the adult hospital side of things, and the neglect and the just lack of services that are out there. And it's something that I always feel very, very passionate about. And I I I used to protest over. One night, I slept outside the Dáil, just highlighting stuff. I slept outside the Dáil, and we did walks and we did campaigns, and it's something that I will stick to, and kind of keep on going with it until maybe the message does get through, and we'll be able to speak to government about the lack of services for children, particularly children with any additional needs. I have always that's where I have always found an issue. Another thing that is it's very prevalent in our society with young adolescent is suicide, and it's something that I experienced not so long ago. Just speaking to a child I didn't know. I was in the hospital with my daughter, and I got chatting to another person, and she was there with her child, and it really, really struck home with me the lack of help for children that have mental health issues, for lack of teenagers that have mental health issues. And really, really worries me, because I have 5 kids, and they're at the age now where they're coming into their teenage years. And although you think you have everything covered with your kids, and they'll never feel like that, but we don't know that. And that child that I spoke to, absolutely beautiful, beautiful child. But it really, really hurt me to see that there are children out there, and parents looking for help for their kids in so many different. We have so many different kind of like government bodies that I suppose that run our mental health services. A couple of different ones that their waiting lists are too long, and it can be too late. It can be far too late. And where this child was at this stage in her life, she was a 14-year-old, and she had, it wasn't too late, obviously, but it had been very close to being too late. And it really, really hit home for me the fact that you're left on your own. You're, as a parent, as parents, we can only rely on what comes after us, and we rely on our health system and our government. And there are so many fabulous people, by the way, that work in healthcare in Ireland, and work in public healthcare, and work for our public services. But they're so understaffed, they're so underfunded, and they're so under-resourced that they basically cannot help our children. And that's the worst thing to hear as a parent. When you go somewhere, you're at your most vulnerable, and your child is at its most vulnerable, and it's literally a case of life or death, and they turn you away to say, sorry, the waiting list is too long, you have to wait. You're left to go home with your child, and what do you do? What do you do, especially if your child has serious mental health issues and they are suffering from anxiety? Is huge in teenagers, and I know there is coming up to exams, and especially with lockdown. And there's so many vulnerable children out there as well, also, that didn't get the help. But during lockdown, I know teenagers really suffered, because not only were they not going to school and interacting with their peers, they were just, there was nothing for them. And of course, we had these pre-pandemic high levels of waiting lists that were just out of this world, and now we have all of this on top of it as well. And you don't hear that much in the news anymore, because for the last 2 years, it's always been the top of the news have been daily numbers. The daily numbers are so many people have died, and so many people blah blah blah, the infection rate or whatever. But you did not hear pre-pandemic. You would hear the housing crisis, and you would hear the health crisis. You'd hear about that almost nearly every other day in the news, and you're not hearing that anymore. And I think because you're not hearing it, you think it's gone away, and people do think it has gone away, but it hasn't. It's after getting worse and worse. And like, I mean, now's the time where we need to get on the likes of these type of platforms, the likes of TV or like radio talk shows platforms, and let's start kind of chipping away at it again and telling people stories about, you know, the lack of services and our children suffering, and keep going with it, because we have to keep putting our stories out there. And but it's terrible and it's horrible, because I know personally I had to kind of drag my story with my children through the media in order to highlight an issue. But it's something that we need to start get going on again in order to highlight and address a problem. Definitely. Another problem has been I know the last while in the news about violence against women. Myself, my mum, and a friend of mine, local councillor, we attended the vigil for Aisling, and I have to say, and it was something that I said I'd love to mention on the podcast, because again, like we say, women's violence, and you know, a lot of stuff that we thought would have been normal years ago is actually not okay anymore. And I want to kind of highlight this as well, because I have 3 daughters and I have 2 sons, and there's 2 sides to it, you know. Like we always say, it starts in the playground, you know. I always say to my girls, they have to have respect for men, you know, and it starts, like we say, in the playground or in the home. You know, you don't hit your brothers don't hit you, but you have to have the equal amount of respect for them as they have for you. You know, you don't smack anybody. And I say the same to the boys about the sisters, and of course, the girls hitting their friends or the boys hitting their friends, blah blah blah. But again, it's respect for women that it hasn't been drilled in somewhere along the line. Now, I know there's so many people, it has been, Jesus, so many people, but there are the rare few out there that have committed these awful crimes against women, that I don't think it's been drilled into them the way it should have been. And I just think that it did start from somewhere along in those people's lives, that they maybe thought, right, it's okay to act like this. But when we went to that vigil there a couple of weeks ago, it was so powerful to see so many people from all walks of life, men, women. I remember there was an elderly man standing beside us holding a candle, and the wax was just melting onto his hand, you know, and he's just standing there, and he was just tears in his eyes, you know. And I know there's very few people who wouldn't have tears in their eyes, and it literally hurt so many people from all around the world, what happened to Aisling. And there has been so many ladies before her, and unfortunately there will be more after her. But again, it's kind of up to us as parents starting off, and as parents even now with young kids, and we just have to teach boys, men, as they go along, that what we saw in the news was not okay, and it never will be okay. And all that type of stuff, all the little things that would have been accepted years ago aren't accepted now, so they don't grow into bigger things. And look, I'm not an expert. All I know is what I want to teach my children going forward. And you know, like, I just think it's so sad that we have to, something like that, what happened to Aisling, for us to be having this kind of national discussion, you know, and having to set new laws and new regulations and having to, you know, to start a movement in order for this not to happen again. This should have always been there. But again, look, I don't think anywhere is perfect, and all we can do is learn as we go along and teach our young boys, you know, that none of this will be tolerated in years to come, like what was tolerated years ago, I suppose. So that was something that really kind of in the last couple of weeks that I just can't get out of my head. Also, you know, the amount of people going missing, and you look at the news, and it just seems to be thing after thing after thing. It's a scary, scary world. You know, sometimes I look and I think to myself, my God, I am rearing my kids in this world. Like sometimes I think, oh God, I don't even want to let them outside. You know, that kind of way as a parent, and it's not a nice feeling. And no, look, we can't mold the world around our kids, and we never will be able to do that. All we can do is kind of guide them and teach them right from wrong. And I'm not a parenting expert, you know, but that's what I feel, and that's what has really kind of made me think over the last couple of months, last couple of weeks, since after Christmas, since everything after Christmas died down. I would actually, another topic actually I want to speak about is holidays and family holidays. Family holidays. Now, I remember the last 2 years, obviously, we've had to holiday in Ireland, because we weren't allowed to go at one stage. We weren't even allowed to leave our county. But we've always kind of every other year we've taken a foreign holiday with the kids. And I suppose every second year we've added a new child to our itinerary, basically, when we're flying. And then when they hit over 2, you're like, oh my God, I pay full price for a seat on Ryanair for them. But so we, you know, at the beginning of the year, you kind of go, all right, we must look forward to holidays for the kids. And when you are not 2 adults, 2 children, oh my God, you are absolutely screwed. And we've kind of learned that, you know, it's been a long time since we were just 2 adults and 2 children. And for a long time, yeah, we got a kind of good deals, and we had the 3rd child, and yeah, it was all right, but it was kind of a little bit, Jesus, this is expensive. But once you hit 3 kids, 4 kids, and then go to 5 kids, oh my God. So the first kind of big family holiday we had with 4 kids, actually, at the time, we knew hotels were never going to be an option anymore. Out the window, not happening. Nobody will cater for us. So we started to go down the route of holiday camps. Oh my God, they're fucking amazing. They're bloody brilliant. Not just for big families, but for small families there. When we were there, we went to a fabulous place in Italy called Alto Mincio, and it's basically one of this kind of sister camps of the Euro camps, and there's like Bella Italia, and there's a couple of others in Spain or whatever. And there's another one called Sanguli in Spain. So they've kind of been the thing that has suited their family for the last couple of years. Now, we haven't had a foreign holiday in about 4 years, basically, that we would have to pay, you know, full whack for accommodation or whatever. We've been blessed for a couple of years. We lived down Tenerife for couple of years when we were growing up, and we've always had a kind of got our flights and got a cheap apartment from a friend of ours down in Tenerife. But apart from Tenerife, you know, we have gone down the route of obviously different places. But my God, this year seems to be, I know, of course, everything's open, everybody's getting back onto flights and getting back to booking hotels and stuff, but I looked at a family holiday for all of us, for 5 of us, 2 adults. And of course, we take my mother with us because she is basically, I can't go anywhere without her. You know, she's, I hang around with ma, if that's what you want to call it. Who's your mate? Me ma. I hang around with ma. And I know you can all relate to that. Do not pretend you can't. I hang around with ma, right? And that's just it. I have mates, you know, but if I'm going anywhere, first place I'm going is to my ma. So yeah, my ma's come with us, Nanny Mags. And so I was looking just randomly, just for pig iron's sake, I said, right, I'm going to go on to, you know, the likes of you get your hotel and your accommodation, or sorry, your flights and your accommodation together. And again, I put in the names and the ages of the kids and what have you. I basically have to have 2 rooms when you have 5 kids. and it was 9,200 for 3 adults and 5 kids. Now, bearing in mind, like, I'm not taking 5 teenagers with me who bleeding eat rings around them. Well, they kind of do. Eat rings around themselves and looking for bleeding all-inclusive everything, and we're mad drinkers, so we drink the feckin' bar dry. That's not the case. But it's like 10 grand for a 2-week holiday in Spain. How can they justify that? Like, even we're going quite cheap now. When we stayed in this holiday camp, it was 800 euros. And it was for, I think we did 2 weeks in this place. Of course, it wasn't peak season. It was like June or whatever. And it was 800 euro to stay in the camp, which is fantastic. And our flights, like, Ryanair is dead handy, because once you go Ryanair, like, you can be good with Ryanair, you can be blessed with Ryanair, you can get like a 60 quid flight and be all right. But I remember the year we went, I think it was 2017, it was like 800, and our flights were probably 1,000 euros. So it's like 2,000 euros. Now this year we booked, and it's 4,000 euros. Now we're not paying 4,000 euros because we had booked, obviously, back in 2020 when the pandemic started, 19, whatever. And we put a deposit, so obviously they'll still have our deposit from us, so obviously we won't be paying that amount of money. But when you think of it, 4,000 euros is an awful lot for a family, and there are so many families out there, especially this year. Like, there's families that parents would have been working and have obviously had to go on the unemployment payment, and still yet wanting to get a little holiday. Look, I mean, everybody needs to have something to look forward to throughout the year. You live for your summer holidays. The kids get off school, you want to go away in your summer holidays, and it just takes the edge off everyday life. And you have to have something to look forward to. But in saying that, like, I mean, there's no way people could afford it. Like, even holidaying in Ireland. I have often gone to book a hotel for kids just to bring them swimming. Yourself, when you want to get away for the weekend, even to bring them swimming. You're looking at 2 grand for 2 rooms with, like, maybe if you have big kids or whatever, 2 rooms, and it's like 599 euro for 2 nights, say, with them, and that's 2 rooms. And then you're looking at feeding them their meals, breakfasts, ice creams. It's like, it's Ireland, It's too expensive. And I have to say, I know the hotel industry have been really, really, the hospitality industry has, it's been nearly non-existent. But I think they might need to look after families if they're staycating this year, for certain, because, I mean, there's much more competition out there, obviously. But I think they need to look after families now at this rate. For families who just want to get away for a couple of days, especially during the likes of midterms and stuff, when they've only a couple of days off, or the likes of Easter and St. Patrick's Day, and taking them away. I mean, Jesus, the price is shocking, and some of the hotels are lovely, but some of them aren't worth it. Like, they're just not worth it. Yeah, they're just swimming pool, but anyway. Oh, that's my little rant over. So yeah, look, it's been great going live. I think the next time I will have more of a schedule. I will definitely have guests. I will definitely have all my ducks in a row. Before I start. This week has been like nuts for us. We had the biggest toilet explosion in our house. Oh my God. We have a bathroom upstairs, and our little kids are like, when they are going to the toilet, they wrap like 7 layers of toilet roll around their hands for a little tinkle, and then they don't flush. And you teach them 2 things they have to do when they go to the loo. They flush the jacks and they wash their hands. They don't do either. Do you ever see a kid coming out of the jacks? Especially if they're on their PlayStation or they're on their things. They run out, they leave the light on the door open, they haven't washed their hands or flushed the jacks. That's my kids, times 5. So upstairs, obviously, you know, there's been loads and loads of all this going on. And of course, I have to say, they're not just at fault, it's been me as well. Baby wipes, flushing them down the toilet. Ones you think are biodegradable, they're not. Well, they probably are, but they still block your jacks. So it's been weeks and weeks of all this flushing stuff down the jacks because the jacks isn't that old. Once of it, I suppose. And the jacks the pipes just went, no, sorry, can't take any more. So the toilet filled up, and I was like, oh my God, look at this. So the usual, the wire hanger, and I'm trying to whack it through and rubber glove, put my hand down so I could grab anything out, and didn't happen. So then I was like, being all independent, I can do this. I will sort out the block and the jacks, you know, no need to call himself. Anyway, I got to a stage where, oh my God, this water's moving up more. So I think, look, I'm going to have to give in. I'm going to have to call himself. So we called him in, and he's like, that's going nowhere. So he turned the pipe at the back, and the pipe gave up, and it literally exploded everywhere, and the water level in the toilet got higher, and not in the toilet. Nothing came out of the toilet. It was all the pipes. I have never seen so much poo in all my life, and I never want to, ever again. We spent easily 4 hours shoveling poo, filling up bags and bags and bags and bags. I used every towel. I used bedclothes because I had to stop all this water from going everywhere. It was shocking, and safe to say, I will never ever use a baby wipe in the house again, in the Jackses. And the kids are now condemned to 2 squares of a whiz and 4 of a poo, and that's it. Now I know why the Spanish have a bidet. I am going to invest in a bidet in the gaff because toilet roll is just not good. It's not good for what we had to do the other day. It was crimes against humanity, and I will never, ever, I will never get over it, basically. So yeah, I've been completely unprepared this week. And that's probably why I'm a little bit scared after Poogate, as we call it in the house now. I will never, ever be the same after that. So next week, I'll spend all week preparing for a guest. Let me know what type of guests you like. Like I said, I'm going to have some people from the older generation. I would love to hear from people who used to be the likes of the sellers up Moore Street course and Henry Street. They're the heart of Dublin, them people. I also always remember, as another thing, it brings me back to Dublin. Who remembers the lady on O'Connell Street that used to sing and say prayers? And do you remember that lady? No, as a kid, I was terrified of her. But she always reminds me as a kid of Dublin City. And she used to have a prayer book or something in her hand, didn't she? All that type of old Dublin. I love old Dublin, pictures of Dublin. I really, really do. They're really good, like really good. Old programs of Dublin as well, and certain places in Dublin I love. But I want to hear from them type of people, you know. Definitely get your nanny on. If your nanny has a few good stories, I'd love to talk. Love talking to nannies. Love having a good old chat with the nannies. Throw them to me. And anything else, any other topics like I spoke about before about mental health, children's mental health, parents' mental health. Let's face it, a lot of parents have struggled over the last while, because I know a lot of parents have, I suppose, still had to work from home during all this and keep their kids entertained and be a teacher, a chef, everything to them, you know. And I know an awful lot of people who have suffered, and also an awful lot of people who have suffered loss during the pandemic. I have a few friends actually that lost their parents during the pandemic, and of course not getting that time to, you know, I suppose, grieve properly because of all the restrictions and not giving them a proper feeling like they're not giving them a proper send off and stuff like that. That's been very, very hard on people, and I suppose it's probably prolonged the grief and prolonged the I suppose prolonged everything, because I know when I lost my dad, it was very tough, but I can only imagine all the restrictions in place. I couldn't imagine it, actually, because I couldn't imagine it being told you couldn't do certain things. So that's an awful lot. That's been awful hard on people as well. Definitely. So if you'd like to come on and talk about that, I'm sure having that conversation and shining some light on that will probably help other people as well, because all of that has happened also. Let's do that. Like, I mean, I'm all about the laughs. I love the laughs and I love having the crack, but also as well, like I said earlier, these type of platforms are platforms to shine a light on certain topics and issues that isn't spoken about. You can speak about here. Absolutely, no problem. We'll chat about anything. This is in kind of open mic, within reason. Within reason, because I know I love a good rant, and people like to rant, and people like to tell on one another and stuff like that. So within reason. Like I told you, funny family stories in my little intro piece about my family. We have an awful lot of funny family stories. I have another good one. And every family has lots of them. And that's what I want to hear. I'd like to have somebody come on every week and tell us, in a little segment, tell us a story. Here's another story. My poor sister, God bless her. She would have been a very picky eater when we were growing up. And my mum is from Galway, and she would often, not very often now, she should have a little bit more, but she's too busy rearing us, would often go down home to see her family down in Galway. And I always remember my poor sister, Jesus Christ, she was a very plain eater, God love her. And liked everything dry and dry bread, and didn't like milk and didn't like all this. Well, anyway, my mom would always my dad would look after us, and he would God, his cooking was dreadful. He only really knew how to fry a rasher or a sausage or an owl leg or whatever. So he used to give us manky stuff, and we would be like, "Ma, please, like, stop getting me dad to feed us. Just make dinner, make 2 days. Should only ever go from Friday till Sunday. Make us make a dinner before you go and leave it, and we'll eat it, So I remember one time my mother leaving the makings of a stew, and she literally, fair play to her, she had everything all chopped up, onions and all, the meat and all done, all chopped in, only to put, I used to say, put a bit of fire under it years ago, just to reheat it. So anyway, we probably at school or wherever, and my dad was off work off the Friday, and we came in, and you could smell the dinner bubbling away. We're like, oh, nice, bleeding starving. And in we come, and we're like, what's that smell? Like, what's that smell? It smells like hot. It smells like stew, but it's very spicy. It's very spicy smell off it. And in we come, and we're like, oh God, I don't know. We lifted the lid. We're like, Dad, what's in the stew? And he's like, all right, throw a few out curry beans and it'll be lovely. And we're like, oh God. Dare we say, Anne, you bleeding kill us. Oh, my poor sister. I remember us all sitting around the table, and we dished it up, and there we are going, oh yeah, it's lovely. And my poor sister, she was heaving. And my dad goes, right, none of you move. Going inside to watch the news. Don't move until all that's gone. You're finished, scrape your thing in the bin, and off you go. Out you go to play. Grand. Me and my brother sitting through, getting through. We're like, oh yeah, it's bleed lovely. And my poor sister, she was white in the face. And all of a sudden she goes, I can't do it. I just can't do it. So up she gets, and she gets loads of sheets of what do you call it, kitchen towel, and slaps it all onto the kitchen towel, rolls it up. Next thing, she opens the back door, walks out, and throws it over the neighbour's wall. And we were like, oh, quick, sit down, quick. And she was an empty bowl going, that was lovely. Next of all, 2 months later, like, oh, Exactly, we're after getting away with it. All right, we'll do it. Get me to kitchen room, we'll do it. Next of all, you hear. We're like, oh fuck, oh god, oh quick, it's the neighbour. And we were absolutely bricking it. Next thing you hear, my sister goes out and she goes, Dad, it's the neighbour. And he's go, what does he bleeding want? Dad goes, and we're like, poor sister was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be killed. Your man's standing there with the kitchen roll and all the sloppy curry beans rolling down his arm. He's like, one of your kids threw this over my back wall. And my dad goes, what? One of your bleeding kids threw this over my back wall. Slop all over my back walls, all over the window. And my dad goes, Jesus, I'm awful sorry about that. And he hands him the kitchen. Next thing he comes into the kitchen, he goes, who fucking threw this over the wall? And poor sister there going, I don't know. And we're there going, she did it. Oh, well. I swear to God, I have never seen my sister run so fast in all her life. Oh my God. Safe to say, my mother never went down to Galway after that. Never. And if she did, she would leave us money for a curry, because that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Oh my God. My dad, he'd put anything in anything. Now, he wouldn't eat himself. He used to always do it to, so we wouldn't get hungry quicker probably and annoy him for more food. But I have to say, see the likes of them stories. I absolutely love them. And they're the stories I want from everybody. Everybody has them. We've loads more. Anyway, every other week I'm going to have the weather. We're going to have the weather. I have a weather girl, believe it or not. And she is going to give me her weekly weather outlook for the week. But tonight she couldn't, because she was out on the Raz last night at Bingo Loco. And she's hanging today. And she did send me one, but she did send me her outlook, but I didn't have time to read it or call it out. But I will post it up at the end of this. So that'll be your weather outlook. Anyway, my hour is up. It's been a good hour. Probably not for yourselves. You're probably like, oh my God, I am never tuning into her podcast show ever again. But bear with me. It will get better in time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And I will see you all next week with a better show. Hopefully a guest. And I want everybody, don't forget to subscribe to my channel now, because that's the most important thing. Subscribing to my channel. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and I will see you all next week. Bye.